You guys were right. The Nvidia RTX 4070 is not going to be $499. It'd be great if it was to match the price of the 3070, but I'm going to tell you the reasons why Nvidia is going to make it more, and I'm going to tell you exactly how much I think it's going to be, and maybe you're going to agree with me. You may not like it, I don't like it, but Nvidia is playing a game. First, let's look at this. Look, I was walking in my local micro center. Look at this. They still have RTX 3070s and 3070 Ti's in stock, and these GPUs are still pretty expensive retail. Like, you're not going to find a $499 3070 even today all that easily, even though you can on the used market, of course. But we're talking about the retail market, where Nvidia has been inundated with a bunch of inventory from the crypto crash and everything that happened during the last year or so. Now, the 3070 and 3070 Ti in a lot of cases are still over $500 or even $600. If somebody's at the store, for example, and they see an RTX 3070 Ti for like $600 something, and then they look at a 4070 Ti at $799, they're going to think, well, it's probably worth the upgrade cost for only like $100 to $150 from what they're seeing. And if that person's not savvy, like when you guys subscribe and smash that like button to help the channel grow, you know what I'm talking about. You guys know that the 4070 Ti is not a good value, but an average shopper, they're not going to know that. They're going to compare to what they see on the retail shelf, and that's what Nvidia wants everybody to believe pretty much. Even during Nvidia's presentation, they mentioned that the RTX 3000, basically that's the mainstream GPU still for gamers. Don't think that 3000 is last generation because the new stuff is out and it's no longer available. That's going to be true of most of the high-end RTX 3000, like 3080 Ti, 3090, 3090 Ti. Those are really difficult to find, and they're basically discontinued at this point. But the other stuff like the 3060, 3060 Ti, 3070, all of those are still game for basically consumers, and Nvidia said it themselves. That's the mainstream GPU. Everything else is going to be RTX 4000 for the high-end or enthusiast gamer. So that's what Nvidia's game has been, and they pretty much were successful at it because there's not that much retail inventory left, especially the prices never came down at all. So you're going to be stuck looking at either a 4070 Ti or a 3070 Ti, most likely, for a small price difference. And of course, if you weren't like just walking into a store to buy it, you would know you could probably get a 3070 Ti used for probably like $400 or something like that in a lot of cases. 3070s were easily going for like the $300 something range. When you compare those prices on the used market to the prices of the retail market, then it's indeed a tremendous difference. You just have to look at the used market. There's no way around it. There's so many GPUs being sold on the secondary market that you have to put away any bias of stuff being, mined on or broken or something like that, and use your due diligence. There are good models and copies available of a lot of GPUs that you can buy without having any issue, and you're going to save a huge amount of money. Or you can just go retail and waste a lot of money if you want to do last generation. That's plainly how it is right now. So the 4070 pricing, that's why I don't think it's going to be all that low. I think it's going to come in at $699, even though that's a lot more than the previous generation. Look at all the facts. Basically, Nvidia likes to price their 4070 only $100 less than the 4070 Ti, like they did with the 3070 at $499, 3070 Ti at $599. They went up about $200 on that MSRP, so you can expect the same on the 4070. That's if things stay the same. If Nvidia wants to get more aggressive and really like price these GPUs so they sell, if the 4070 Ti really isn't moving like it isn't right now, they're basically in stock everywhere. $699 is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but Nvidia may very well price it at $699, even though for us it's a terrible value for that GPU, and especially compared to the previous generation. But that's not going to be their primary objective. Maybe their primary goal is to make sure that their inventory of RTX 3000 is fully cleared. If they do this at $699, you can bet that people are going to buy cheaper 3070s still, because it's going to be a bigger price difference at that point. Now, if they price this at like $599, a lot more people will buy the 4070, and they're not going to buy all of the 3070 Ti's that are still available. 3070s, even 3060s, people are going to want to wait for the next generation stuff, and Nvidia is going to continue to have a glut of these older generation GPUs on hand. Look at it from that perspective. If you thought that, oh, Nvidia must be crazy for pricing the 4070 Ti at $799 because it's a terrible, price to performance GPU, of course, theoretically, that's correct. It's not good. It's much worse than anything else on the market that was available last generation. But you have to change your view on it. You have to see it from NVIDIA's perspective. They want to move RTX 3000, so they're only going to sell the 4070 Ti to the gamers that are willing to pay that price. It's basically their market to control. They don't really have very much competition at that price point. You have a little bit from AMD, but AMD also has very expensive GPUs. The 7900 XT should have really been a 7800 XT and considerably cheaper than what it is now. $899 is way too much. It should have been at most maybe like $699. Then it truly would have been competitive, because right now it's not looking too good against the really expensive 4070 Ti. So imagine when a 4070 comes out or something like that, it's going to look like an even worse value proposition. So it's not just on the AMD side or Nvidia side that we have these issues. It's really both companies. And maybe that's part of the problem. It's only two companies that are competitive in this space. Intel is trying to jump into the market, but so far they haven't really been too successful. Their Intel Arc has been a little bit shaky, but it's going to take a few years for us to see if that's going to pan out. So if you look at it from NVIDIA's viewpoint, $699 for them is going to be reasonable for a 4070. Terrible for the consumer, but they figured whoever wants to buy it will buy it, because it's going to be probably like a 3080 level performance or something like that for the same price as the 3080 was last generation. Maybe it's going to have still that 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and then everybody else is going to be pushed to look at the RTX 3000, which even this year they probably will still have a lot of stock available of the mid-range and lower GPUs. Of course, they want to clear those before they start to really push RTX 4000. I mean, right now, the 4070 Ti is available absolutely everywhere. We're not just talking about Micro Center, that's like the golden place that not that many people have. It's available overseas. It's available Newegg, Best Buy, anywhere that you go, pretty readily available, because people are not buying it, and in just cause, it's really not that great of a value. But Nvidia doesn't care. If they sell a couple of them right now, that's fine until they stabilize the rest of their inventory. And of course, the 4090, that's way and above everything else, is selling pretty much like hotcakes. There was a recent drop recently that went pretty quickly, and maybe it's going to come in stock more this year as they start to work through all of the inventory issues. But at least that GPU selling like pretty easily. And of course, the 4080 is going to stay stuck in that really high priced range. And now Best Buy even has it with add to cart. Before, you had to do the whole thing where you wait, but the Founders Edition at $11.99 is available. I just checked now. It says add to cart. So that's not really all that great at that price, but after all, it is available. Some of these expensive GPUs were still selling out like last year, so at least this is good news. If things aren't selling, prices will have to come down. So to go back to the 4070, I mean, it's not really going to be all that extremely impressive necessarily against previous generation GPUs if it comes in at $699. I mean, if somebody has a 3080 12 gigabyte, that's not even going to be a very good upgrade. You're basically probably going to be around the same performance. The only benefit the 4070 is going to have over RTX 3000 at this point is maybe a little bit better ray tracing in some titles, and maybe with DLSS 3.0, which only RTX 40 series is going to have, better hardware implementation. Somebody asked if it was true that Nvidia says only RTX 4000 should have DLSS 3.0, because if it's on like the 20 series or 30 series, it's not going to be a good performance or a good experience. I think in that sense, they are telling the truth, because the hardware in RTX 4000 is going to be better tuned and stronger to do things like DLSS 3.0. RTX 3000, like a 3090, could do DLSS 3.0, but it's not going to perform up to the expectation of the user and the gamers. So I think that's why they left it out. DLSS 3.0 is tricky. Sometimes it looks great, but it does get a lot of criticism. So I think Nvidia is treading carefully here so they don't damage hurts the reputation of DLSS. They want to keep it sort of positive so that way gamers embrace it and use it, because that's a way that they really push to sell GPUs. They can show a huge generational uplift using DLSS in their charts much easier than in traditional rasterization, especially against AMD, who doesn't have FSR 3.0 out yet or things like that. So Nvidia can definitely use it to push performance. Some people think that it's like, not really the best thing to do. It's fake frames. It's not true rasterization performance, but they use it anyway. In the 4070 Ti presentation, they basically used that to show that it was like 1.8 times, according to them, better than the 3090 Ti. And we know that it's mostly not true. It's about the same or even a little less sometimes than the 3090 Ti across many titles. But if you do implement DLSS 3.0, which the 3090 Ti does not have, then yes, it is going to be a lot faster, but it's not really a fair comparison. They're going to do the same thing with the 4070, and that's the only advantage it's really going to have over RTX 3000. Final educated guess on the 4070 price is going to be $699. I think it's going to be high, so the only way it's going to come down is if the market is really, really much worse and Nvidia has sold more of their inventory for RTX 3000, and then I think they may start to push it lower and maybe to like $599 or something like that if they feel like they really have to sell it. But I don't think they're going to care. It's going to be $699, and that's not really that great. People are going to complain a lot about that price. All right, guys, so remember to subscribe, smash that like button, let me know what you think about the 4070 price, and I'll see you guys on the next video.